From the 4K 77 fan-made edition of Star Wars that's 80 gigabytes, to the recolored 4K Disney Plus editions, to the despecialized edition, there is so many different versions of these movies, it's hard to know which version to always watch. But today, I'm going to tell you about the version that you've never seen before, and probably never truly will. The rarest of rares, the shiniest Pokemon of all the Star Wars movie releases. Today, we're going to talk about the exclusive release that happened in a galaxy far, far away, also known as Chile. That's right, we're talking about the 2004 Star Wars exclusive Chilean TV release. As many of you know by now, since it blew up on X and 37 million people have seen it, apparently when Chile was first able to air the Star Wars special editions and the prequels on TV, the ad agency OMD Santiago came up with an extremely creative way of filming advertisements for Crystal Beer that looked like it was a scene in the movie. They matched everything they could, shot for shot, so it wouldn't break the viewer's attention, basically stitching it right into the movie. While Obi-Wan is trying to deactivate the tractor beam, he casually stumbles across a refrigerator with drinks in it. And then you hear the jingle, and you're confused before your brain can make sense of what's happening.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza Cristal.
Is the Emperor about to strike me down? Or is he just going to force pull an ice cold one to pop open? What do you guys think is inside a Tauntaun? Guts, guts, and more guts? Try again. How about a full cooler of cold ones? I mean, it's crazy to see Star Wars like this. I can't imagine any kids that maybe watch this as their first time seeing Star Wars and this is how they remember it. Talk about the Mandela effect. I mean, to us, it's hilarious seeing all these scenes in Star Wars. Not only did these go viral back in 2004 and actually win awards at the Cannes Film Festival, but they're also going mega viral right now. And I can only hope that if somebody actually has a recording of these versions of the movies, please get in touch with me. I would absolutely love to see these. These ads were so effective and groundbreaking that the network immediately adapted this form of advertisement to everything else playing around this time, including Gladiator, The Wedding Singer.
Hey, someone left a jacket in the back.
Cerveza Cristal. Cerveza.
Notting Hill, Never Been Kissed, and American Beauty. And not only did they win an award at a highly prestigious film festival, but they also won the attention of the Star Wars papa himself, George Lucas.
I'm sorry, Zed.
No way.
You brought
No
you brought it on yourself.
I don't want you here.
He ended up suing them for copyright infringement, claiming they were altering his IP, which, I mean, technically they were legally using a loophole of inserting a couple black frames before the ad started, but these were so believable that they completely eliminated the 10 to 15% of viewers that typically clicked away from the channel when it cut to commercial break. The viewers just continued watching the ad as if it was still the movie. So I mean, while they may have been slightly legal about doing it, Lucas was definitely justified in his case. In his eyes, they were altering his art, the movies he spent so much love, time, money, and effort on. But why is everyone so excited about these commercials resurfacing? Back in 2004, they generated a lot of conversation around them and the product in them as well, boosting ratings 25% higher than normal. And today, they're still generating massive amounts of conversation on a much larger scale. And everybody's asking for more of them, myself included. And I was gonna say that it would have been really funny to see them do this in the prequels too. Could you imagine Qui-Gon is dying in Obi-Wan's arms and he's telling him his dying request is that he trains the boy and that he also drinks a cold one for him and he pulls it out of his sleeve. Obi-Wan just defeats Anakin on Mustafar and it's super emotional and he's telling him that he was supposed to destroy the Sith, not join them, and then he pulls out a cold one. I mean, yes, these are hilarious and I would love to see more just for the sake of a couple laughs and a new spin on the movies we've seen a million times, but I also get why George Lucas ended up suing them when he got wind of what they were doing. I mean, they're literally changing his copyright material, his original IP, and making their own edits to it. And that's his billion-dollar baby. He worked so hard for so long to make this a specific way only for people to almost turn it into a parody. So I can definitely see why the lines would get so quickly blurred if this were to happen long-term and become common practice. But short-term as a meme, you gotta admit it's really funny. But Apparently, they actually did do this to the prequels too, because all the Chileans are coming out and talking about these, pointing out that this wasn't the first time that the original Star Wars trilogy was shown on TV, but it was the first time the special editions were shown, as well as the prequels. Someone said they remembered the pod race scene from episode 1, and then it cut to R2-D2 selling cold ones, which is so funny. I can only imagine where else they hid these.
Where are you going, Master?
For a drink.
Cerveza Cristal.
He told me enough. He told me you killed him.
No. I am your father.
Cerveza Cristal.
There's so many product placements and ads hidden in movies, especially today. I mean, from the straight up 5-minute long car chase in Barbie that's just one continuous ad for Chevy where every car on the road is a Chevy, to Madam Web where the characters literally just hold a can of Pepsi for 5 minutes, or them having the finale end battle literally take place on a giant promo for Pepsi. And unfortunately, the more you look for them in movies, the more you notice them. It's like unlocking a curse on yourself. Oh dang, this big, huge, massive, exciting scene. What is that in the background? Oh look, another awesome moment. What is that doing there? It's one thing when it's done well and it's either funny and or part of the story and not just trying to sell you on it constantly, but it merely just exists in the universe. But other times, it's so obvious that they're trying to subliminally influence you that it almost feels scummy. It feels like they're trying to trick you into spending your hard-earned money on what they want you to buy. The way that you advertise the brand affects how it's perceived by the audience. If it gets a laugh out of a viewer or they figure out a unique way to work it in, it's a lot more likely the viewer will be fine with seeing the products, whereas if it becomes so distracting that it takes you out of the movie and you start noticing all the other brands and products, it's way more likely to make the viewer annoyed and turned away by the products than anything. With these integrations into Star Wars, I think everyone seeing them today is having the exact same reaction to people who watched them back in 2004 for the first time. It's hilarious seeing a serious moment where everyone is engulfed in a plot point or talking about a hero's journey moment, and then Obi-Wan just pulls a cold one out of his sleeve. It's such a change of pace and smack across the face that it's just hilarious. I heard they did this in E.T., but with a cell phone company called SmartCom or something, and I heard they did it in Lost too, but with a mineral water. Where are all of these commercials? I would kind of wonder why it's not done more today, but it's a little self-explanatory. It's like the movie itself has to do it and break the fourth wall to include it in the movie themselves. And if anyone by the sliver of a chance has a VHS recording of these ads or the movies with the ads in them, please get in contact with me. These would be so cool to see. I know there's so many more of these moments that haven't been posted yet. I heard someone say that there was a moment in Return of the Jedi on Endor where Han is telling everyone to be quiet. Then a guy comes out of the forest drinking a can of crystal. There was one when Han Solo gets lowered down into carbonite, and then when he comes up, it's a cold case of crystal. And apparently there was one in Return of the Jedi where Luke jumps into the Sarlacc and pops back up, and then R2-D2 shoots out a crystal can instead of a lightsaber, which is so funny. And there was one that replaces the hologram of the Emperor with a hologram of a crystal can. I know someone's Chilean grandmother out there had to record them, and I would love to see the rest of these so badly. I think there's so many of us Star Wars fans that would have such a good laugh watching these Chilean versions of these movies with the ads worked in. We could easily adapt to widescreen and upscale so they worked with the newer versions of the movies too. We could call it the Crystal Cut or the Chili Cut. Tell me what you think it should be named in the comments. And you've got to give them credit. This is so creative and so different. It's the creativity you want ad agencies to have. I'd much rather have ads that make me laugh than ones that just unapologetically try to sell me their crap. Watching Jurassic World makes me want to dry heave every time I see a close-up of a Mercedes. I'm much more likely to go buy some Reese's Pieces after watching E.T. than I am to favor a Mercedes over a Honda Fit. It's the same thing even if it's not a car. The product placement in E.T. is flawless. It's only used as a story element. They never stop the movie to tell you why they're so tasty or try to convince you they're healthy or something. But you know what? They ended up seeing a 65% profit increase while the film was in theaters. You know why? Because it's a good use of product placement. Seeing them push Skittles down my throat in Shazam 2 was pretty jarring. It wasn't a main element of the story, but since they had the product and wanted it to be important, they basically paused the main plot and detoured for at least 3 minutes just to do a side quest for the Skittles commercial. And there are instances of a lot worse. I know they literally say the slogan out loud.
Taste the rainbow, motherfucker!
but they did it as a joke, so it wasn't nearly as bad as Power Rangers. I don't know how many of you saw the live-action Power Rangers movie, let alone remember it today, but there was a whole scene dedicated to just being silly and goofy in a Krispy Kreme. I mean, in the middle of the final battle, the villain just waltzes into a Krispy Kreme and sits down and eats a donut. I mean, as much as they tried to get it to be for a joke, it's a pretty blatant use of product placement. It feels like I looked away for a second and it cut to a commercial break. The rest of the movie was great. It was a fun movie to watch, and I love Krispy Kreme, but it just feels so forced. Same with Uncharted. Does anyone remember the entire fight scene that took place inside a artificially lit Papa John's?
Literally in a Papa John's right now.
I've never seen a pizza place this bright. Or Brad Pitt stopping in the middle of a zombie apocalypse to drink a Pepsi. I would literally rather do anything else other than watch the main characters of Hocus Pocus 2 go to the brightest Walgreens on the planet and shop through all their beauty products. Cause you know what, I remember seeing the Transformer movies for the first time, and honestly I was young enough and the products in the first ones fit the demographic so well that I loved it when they dropped the Allspark on the ground and the Mountain Dew machine exploded into a Transformer and started shooting people. It was hilarious. They also did it with a guy holding a brand new Xbox 360, which I don't remember seeing, and it was definitely a lot more random than a vending machine, but then 7 years later, cut to Transformers 4 Age of Consent, and you've got them doing close-ups of products like there's no tomorrow. From the Beats pill turning into a Transformer, to having a convenient ad truck pull up right before a slow-mo crash and explosion, only to be followed up by a bunch of close-up shots of the product, and unfortunately, these movies weren't the worst of it. With smaller TV shows, they really benefit a lot more from the product placements, and they care a lot less about how they go about them.
But this Subway sandwich, so uno.
Okay, so you're eating these to lose weight. Is that right?
Sometimes they'll straight up just film the show as if it was a car commercial for 2 to 3 minutes and let the characters go on about how amazing this model of car is. And there's countless examples of this happening, and the only single one that's excused and did this right is the one from New Girl.
Excuse me, we're in a Ford Fusion, the best car ever made. It gets double the gas mileage of
So I've been talking about the whole drive and it's weird. What am I feeling right now?
Feel it.
Oh, cowabunga! Just drive the car. I gotta go tell my girlfriend I don't love her so she doesn't leave me.
I mean, this is hilarious. It feels like the cast is just having fun with it, and it's still true to the show and the characters. Could you imagine if Han Solo was in the Falcon and just slapped the roof of it and looked at the camera and said, "She's built Ford tough and gets 27 miles to the gallon"? Everyone would unanimously stand up and walk out of the theater at the same time. But these Crystal ads, they were funny and they work, and people want more of these. There was an ad they did a while back that was very similar to these ads where they edited Chris Pratt in as Obi-Wan into the Vader duel in A New Hope.
When I left you, I was but... Control yourself.
And this was hilarious. This was for the Star Wars Kinect game. I loved this ad. It had very similar vibes. One of the more recent brand integrations that I enjoyed was the Only Murders in the Building show, where State Farm just gets worked in as a joke here or there, but it was done so well and smoothly and the far opposite from being cringy that I actually had to look it up to see if they were actually sponsoring the show or if it was just a joke. I mean, Back to the Future had a new spin on Nikes that became iconic, same thing with the Pepsi. In Zombieland, the Twinkies in it are funny and it works. Stranger Things has Eggos as part of Eleven's character and it just works. They don't try to push the product in your face and sell you on it. It's just part of the universe. When the product is just in the universe versus them trying to sell you on it in the movie, or when every car on the road is just the same car, it's just a little too obvious and it takes you out of the movie for the wrong reason. Yeah, these Crystal ads take you out of the movie, but in a funny, shocking way. It made people share it with their friends. It's provocative. It gets the people going. They've also spawned a lot of great memes from it recently, especially from Gimbo, which I really appreciate. Go check this guy's stuff out. But it just makes me wonder if we'll ever see the Crystal Cut. If you ever watched these or by chance still have them, please go tell me about it in the comments and then go watch this video after, and remember, the Force will be with you always.